Hello my beautiful friends, welcome back to Dainty Gifts School of Decor and Decoupage, and today I want to welcome you to Witching Hour YouTube Hop. Today we have something a little bit spooky, and there is actually 13 of us, 13 artists from all over the world bring you some lovely spookiness at this wonderful time of the year. As always, with all of the hops, we have some amazing sponsors and some wonderful prizes to be won. So if you would like to participate and get your name in for a chance to win one of the prizes, make sure to follow all of the rules that you can find here in the beginning of this video and also in the description of the video. For this hop, I created something a little bit out there. We have a lot to unpack, so let's get straight into it. I start off with this teapot that I found in my local charity shop. As you can see, it's just a white ceramic teapot. I degreased it with methylated spirit and applied 2 coats of black gesso all over the teapot. Once the gesso was dry, I took this white pencil. This is actually a pencil that I use to pick up little rhinestones, and using this white pencil I marked out the lines for my diamond pattern design. I personally eyeballed it, which is why I ended up with a couple of mistakes and some of the things are a little bit uneven, but for me personally that is the beauty of it. But of course you're welcome to do the maths and get it much more precise than what I did. I did a diamond pattern on the bottom half of the teapot, and I did a checkered pattern on the lid of the teapot. I took this red acrylic paint in Candy Apple by Arteza, and I filled in every other check using a little brush to create a red and black pattern. Next I took this gold liquid metal by Teapot, and once again using a little brush I applied it in some of the places where I wanted to see some gold. Once I was happy with the amount of gold that I applied and everything was dry, I took Fine Line Crackle Varnish by Teapot once again, and first I applied component 1 all over the lid and the teapot, with the exception of the top knob on the teapot lid and the handle. I let it dry, and once component 1 was dry I applied component 2. Once the cracks had appeared, I took some of this silver antique paste, once again by Teapot, and using a brush I applied it all over my crackled parts. This wax sticks into the cracks really well, and then I simply wiped away the excess with a kitchen towel. To seal the teapot, I used 2 or 3 coats of this yacht spray varnish. Next I took this teacup and a saucer that once again I also found in a charity shop, and using the same kind of painting technique I painted the saucer and the teacup. But this time, instead of using Teapot Crackle Varnish, I used 2-step Crackle Varnish by Polyvine. So I applied component 1, let it dry, then applied component 2, and waited for the cracks to appear. The reason why I used a different crackle varnish is very silly one. I ran out of yacht varnish to seal my teacup and saucer, so I didn't have any more solvent-based varnish, so I had to use a water-based crackle so that I could seal it with a glossy spray as well to get the same kind of shiny effect. So if I had more yacht varnish, I would have just used Teapot. Once the cracks on my teacup and the saucer had appeared, I took some of this silver pearl pigment by Daily Art, which is essentially silver mica powder, and again using a brush I applied it all over my cracks, and so it stuck into the cracks, and then I used a cloth to wipe away any of the excess. Then to seal this teacup and saucer I used this gloss varnish instead. Next I moved on to making some of my ephemera, so I took this printout from Digital Collage Club with these lovely Halloween postcards. I cut them out. To make them a little bit more robust, I first of all took some cardboard. This is just the back of the cereal box that I had lying around, and so again I cut out little cards to match the size of the postcards. And to make the backing look a little bit prettier, I took some craft card and again cut out rectangles to match the size of the postcards. Once they were all ready, I took some PVA glue and applied PVA glue onto one side of my cereal box cardboard, then put the printout of the card on top of it, and then apply more PVA glue on the back of my cereal box card and apply some of the craft paper on the other side, and I did that to all 8 images. Of course, I'm not the best at cutting things to size, so the sides weren't perfectly even, so I just used scissors to make them a little bit more even. And once I tidied up the edges, I used some of this VersaFine stamping ink. It's the ink that I use for my business stamp, and a sponge dabber. And I picked up a little bit of ink with my sponge dabber and kind of brushed it along the edges of my postcards. I did make a couple more cards to add to the stash later on, also from Digital Collage Club. Next I move on to make my little placemat that everything is going to sit on. This is an ornate placemat out of MDF, and I used this white chalk paint and a sponge dabber to paint the top of it white. I wanted to add a little bit of decoupage in this project, so I took this wonderful Halloween rice paper from Decoupage Queen, and I tore the lady out so that it would sit in the middle of the placemat. I didn't bother decoupaging it onto the whole thing because it didn't fit the size anyways, so I just tore out a part that could sit in the center of the placemat. I used trade grade PVA glue to decoupage it on, so I just applied some PVA glue onto the placemat, place the rice paper on top, dab it down with a cloth to make sure it's all on, and then apply another coat of PVA glue on top. Next I once again used acrylic paints from Arteza and mixed and matched them all together to kind of try and blend the outside edges of my placemat with the picture on the inside to make it look a little bit more framed and fit in with the rest of the placemat. To seal my placemat, I used Decorator's Varnish by Polyvine. And now we move on to the last leg of our project. I start by putting some paper on the inside of the teacup to fill up the space so that I don't have to use that many flowers. And then I applied some black gesso over the paper so that in case if you can see anything throughout any of the gaps in the flowers, you don't see white paper, you just see black. To make the structure for my flowers to kind of pour out of the teapot into the teacup, I used a little bit of this 1mm thick metal wire. So I measured out roughly how much I'm going to need. I used 2 bits and then I twisted them together to make it a little bit thicker and stronger. And once it was twisted again, to add a little bit more thickness, I used some jute string and tied it around the metal wire. This will also help the flowers stick to it. I then stick one part of my metal wire into the pouring part of my teapot, and then the other part I just kind of wedged it under a bit of paper that I had in the teacup. Then I moved on to the very fun part of applying all of the flowers. So I used these tiny little flowers that I actually bought from Promoter Gifts. Their shop is closing down, so they have a lot of stuff on clearance, so I got all of these little flowers in their clearance sale. And so as you can see, all of these flowers have little stems on them, so I chopped them all off because I won't need them. And then once I had a nice little pile, I took my hot glue gun and started gluing flowers all over the place to make them look like they are pouring out of the teapot into the teacup. While I was doing that, I also got the idea that it would look pretty cool if there was also some flowers spilling out, coming out from the top of the teapot as well. So I took a little bit more paper, folded it and glued it, kind of wedged in between the teapot and the lid to so that it would hold the lid kind of a little bit ajar. And then again covered all of the paper and everything with flowers to make it look like they were just spilling out and coming out from the top. Once I was happy with the amount of flowers that I had applied, I took a little bit of this brown and black acrylic paint by a teaser once again and dry brushed it over the flowers because I mean, as much as I like these flowers and they are bright and colourful, it is a Halloween themed project, so I needed them to look a little bit more spooky. Next, to add some more magic, I used Little Birdie Craft metal micro beads. I used gold, green, red and black. To apply them on, I used Daily Art's gloss medium. So I applied gloss medium kind of in places where I wanted my metal beads to go, and then sprinkled metal beads all over the place, and then it was kind of like whatever sticks. Gloss medium dries clear anyways, so it doesn't really matter if it's not all completely covered, because once it's dry you won't be able to see it. Now we move on to the assembly part. I tied a little bit of jute string around my postcards, and there you can see the other 3 little cards that I made using Digital Collage Club images. I set them all together in the way that I wanted them to sit on top of my placemat. And then I used some more of this silicone glue to kind of drag it all over the place. It's very draggy, it's very stringy, so it was perfect to create some tiny little cobwebs. It did work well, and I think that it does add to the touch. But then the next day I still went to my local shop and purchased some spider webs and spiders from the Halloween section and applied those on instead as well. So I applied some of these cobwebs all over the place, and then I took a few spiders, applied black gesso all over them, and once gesso was dry I used some metallic wax by Little Birdie Craft as well in gold, silver and green, and applied it all over the spiders to make them look a little bit more spookier, and then just sat them on top of my project here and there. And there you guys go. I really hope that you enjoyed this little project, and I hope this has put you in the Halloween spooky mood. This video is a part of a YouTube hub, so of course there are 12 more artists apart from me that are making these kind of Halloween inspired projects right now, and if you would like to participate and be in for a chance to win some amazing prizes from our wonderful sponsors, then make sure to watch all 13 of the videos, like and comment under every single one of them with your name, country, and of course let us know what you liked about the video or something new that you learned from that video. Make sure that you check out all of the sponsors as well and give them a like and a follow on the pages that we have left in the description as well. My personal question for you guys, what I would like to know in the comments, as well as your name and the country that you're from, is do you celebrate Halloween? If you don't, then do you have any kind of celebration that happens around this time of the year in the place that you are from? And yeah, that is it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a like, subscribe, do all of those fun YouTube things. Lots of love from my house to yours, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!